This video will cover the Local Aid Project Management Process, also known as LAMP. We will be focusing on PS&E submission in this video, and we will be adding more training content to cover bidding, invoicing, construction kickoff, the material questionnaire and asphalt waiver, change orders, and inspections. You've been notified that your funds have been certified, and you are ready to submit your plans, specifications, and estimates. When NJDOT completes the certification of funds step, you will receive a notification email similar to the one on the left. The bottom of this email includes the PS&E checklist, as you see here on the right. Be sure to review this checklist so that you have all of the items that you will need for submitting your documents. If you click the Click Here text in the yellow banner at the top of the email, it will take you directly to the PMRS login screen. Here are all the things that you currently gather and submit to NJDOT as part of PS&E, if your project requires. You will be submitting the same documents that you previously submitted on paper in an electronic format. If you forget to click on the link in the email, you can also sign into PMRS by visiting the Local Aid Resource Center website at njdotlocalaidrc.com/PMRS. Bookmark this page so that you can easily get back to it. The LAMP process is not automatically generated like the LAAE process was. You will need to start it when you're ready. In order to start it, you need to go to the Projects tab at the top of the global menu. Click on the title of your project in the column labeled Project Name. You can also search for a project by name using the gray search bar at the top right. This is the project details screen. It tells you everything about the project in one place. Select Processes from the project menu on the left. Select the gray Start Process button from the top right. This brings up a pop-up menu. You need to select LA Local Aid Management Process, LAMP. Type a subject next to the red asterisk, such as PS&E for the reconstruction of Ocean Ave. Make it something that ties to your project that will be easy to remember and that you can search for easily. You might want to include a year in the subject, especially if you have a project that has multiple phases on the same street. The LAMP questionnaire is a very long section. Chances are you won't be able to complete it in one setting. However, in order to save your work, you will need to fill out the commitment detail section, which is a required step. Only then will you be able to save your work. So this step is very important. Scroll down to the area that is titled Commitment Details. eBuilder has a different vocabulary than NJDOT usually does in some instances. What is a commitment? This is your project's funding. So in this step, you are attaching your funding to your project. For commitment control, select Uncontrolled from the drop-down menu. Uncontrolled gives LPAs more flexibility if the funding for the project needs to be changed. For company, start typing the name of your municipality and then select it once it appears. The company number on the right will automatically populate after you select your municipality. This information is important so that NJDOT's accounting staff sends the money to the correct municipality. Scroll to the top or the bottom. Save your draft using the gray button. This page has a lot of questions on it, and the system will time out if it isn't touched for a while, so make sure you save frequently. There is a save button at both the top and the bottom of the screen for your convenience. You should receive a message that your draft was successfully saved. As you navigate the LAMP process, it is important to read the questions carefully. Some questions require a yes, and some require a no in order to advance to the next section. Now we'll start with the PS&E questions. The first one is about scope modification. The first question asks whether there has been a scope modification. I want to emphasize that all of these questions are not new. It's what you currently fill out on a paper form. An incidental modification is a change that adjusts the limits of the project but otherwise contains the same items of work and does not require additional funds. A significant modification is a change that changes the limits of the project or the items of work in such a way that it significantly changes the intent of the original project description, items of work, limits of the work, or the allotment amount. The scope modification question is very important because it will determine how your PS&E package is routed for review. Municipalities granted awards have limited ability to modify the approved proposed project. Any scope changes to the approved application must first be reviewed and approved by the district offices. Scope modifications are first identified on pages 5, 6, and 7 of the State Aid Handbook. This is the entire LAMP workflow. You'll see that it starts here on the left where there is a yellow dot over the Start button. As you can see, there are numerous opportunities for revisions and resubmissions along the way. If you have a scope modification, the process will first go to the engineer and then the clerk and then the local aid project manager and then the district manager for review before the PS&E goes to the local aid project manager for review. This is a close-up of the scope modification part of the LAMP process. If there has been a scope modification, click Yes and upload supporting documentation on the right. If there has not been a scope modification, select No and continue. The next section is about railroad coordination. Does your project propose changes to an at-grade railroad crossing? Is the project within 1,000 feet of an at-grade crossing on the approach roadway? Is the project parallel to a railroad within 200 feet? Is the project related to a quiet zone crossing? Initially, when you go through this questionnaire, you will just answer yes or no. If your project involves a railroad, the Bureau of Structural and Railroad Engineering Services, BSRES, will provide you with comments at a later date. You will need to respond to these comments later. We'll pretend that our current project doesn't involve railroad coordination, click No for these questions, and continue to design exceptions. The next section covers design exceptions. Does the project conform to the current AASHTO standards? Does the design of the traffic barriers and drainage systems conform to the NJDOT roadway design manual? Do the road and bridge designs conform to the current NJDOT Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices, or MUTCD? Have you confirmed that there are no other deviations from the standards? If you answered no to any of these questions, you must upload documentation on the right. If you click on the blue hyperlink on the right-hand side, it will take you to a page where you can see a copy of the Design Exception Manual. This is the pop-up window with the sample PS&E documents. You will find the Design Exception Manual here. The nice thing about this is that NJDOT will always have the latest versions of the documents available here. This is the Design Exception Manual. You can see the table of contents on the left to easily navigate the document. This is the beauty of this technology. You don't need to find the manual. It is available right in PMRS for you. So once we have entered our information, we can move on to the next section, environmental compliance and historic preservation. The environmental compliance and historic preservation section covers green acres, historic preservation, hazardous waste sites, and any necessary approvals from state and federal agencies, like the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, NJDEP, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, the U.S. Coast Guard, or other state commissions like the Pinelands Commission or the Highlands Commission. The first question is about project cost. Is the project cost greater than or equal to $1 million? If so, an environmental compliance summary is required. You can download the environmental compliance summary by clicking on the Environmental Forms hyperlink on the right-hand side. This is the pop-up window that appears when you click on the Environmental Forms hyperlink. The Environmental Compliance Summary is named Environmental Form-2.docx. This is what the Environmental Compliance Summary looks like when you open it. You will need to download the file, fill out the permit information, and upload it into PMRS. Upload your completed Environmental Compliance Summary. You have three options. You can either drag and drop the file, browse your computer and upload it from there, or if you have already uploaded it to eBuilder, you can locate it in the project document folder in eBuilder and upload it from there. Next, you will go through and upload any relevant permit or environmental supporting documentation. The next question asks about encroachments on green acres parkland or open space. If your project is encroaching, you need to note that on the environmental compliance form and upload appropriate documentation. The next question asks whether the project will affect a historic resource, such as a historic bridge, historic property, or historic district listed on either the National Register of Historic Places or the New Jersey Register of Historic Places. If yes, note that on the Environmental Compliance Summary and upload coordination documents from the State Historic Preservation Office or SHPO on the right. If you click on the Lucy hyperlink shown here with the gold arrow, it will bring you to this website. Lucy is a DEP resource that you might find helpful. It is an online cultural resources map that you can use to look up cultural resources in your municipality. The next question asks about known or suspected hazardous waste sites, such as underground storage tanks, landfills, or contaminated soils. If yes, note that on the Environmental Compliance Summary and upload site remediation documentation on the right. The next question asks about approvals from other government agencies, such as the NJ Department of Environmental Protection, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, the U.S. Coast Guard, or other state commissions. If yes, upload documentation on the right. Once everything in the Environmental and Historic Preservation section is filled in, you can move on to highway permits. The next question asks if any portion of the proposed project is within state right-of-way. If yes, you will need to include highway occupancy permits. You can click on the blue hyperlink that says Highway Permits to bring up the Highway Occupancy Permit form. You can find the Highway Occupancy Permit form here under the sample PS&E documentation pop-up window. Here is a copy of the Highway Occupancy Permit form. Download the form, fill it out, and upload the completed document to PMRS. The next question is about bridges and culverts. Is your project impacting any bridges or culverts? If so, enter the structure number at the right. The structure number should be on the bridge or in the bridge inspection report. Note, the structure number is not a required question, so if you don't know it, you can simply move on. It's important for everyone to be able to get where they need to go. The Americans with Disabilities Act prohibits discrimination and guarantees that people with disabilities have the same opportunities as everyone else to get to work, shopping, recreation, medical appointments, and other daily activities. The Technical Infeasibility section asks about compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act requirements. When you click on the Technical Infeasibility form on the right, it will bring you to the sample PS&E document pop-up window. The Technical Infeasibility form appears under the acronym TIF all the way at the bottom. This is a copy of the ADA Technical Infeasibility form. Download the form, fill it out, and upload the completed form. Some projects involve multiple jurisdictions, such as 2 neighboring communities or a town and a county. The next question asks about interagency agreements. If you have one, click Yes and upload it on the right. If you don't have one, select No and continue. The engineer's estimate is an important part of the process. It helps determine whether the bids the municipality receives are in the right ballpark. The next question asks for the engineer's cost estimate. Enter the total in the box on the left. Then upload a spreadsheet with supporting documentation on the right. If you need a sample, click on the Engineering Estimate Sample, which will allow you to download the spreadsheet shown on the next slide. For the engineer's cost estimate, you will need the item number, a description of each item, the quantity, and the units. You're in the home stretch of the PS&E submission questionnaire. Now it's time to upload the plans and specifications. A sample plan is available for your reference by clicking on the blue plan hyperlink. Use the sample plans as a reference to make sure you're including all of the basic information, such as sections, that you might need on your plans. Make sure the page numbers are correct. Make sure your title sheet has the information it is supposed to have. All plans submitted to local aid for review have minimum requirements regarding what has to be on the plan. According to the State Aid Handbook, at a minimum, plans should contain key sheets showing project limits and location, typical sections, construction plan sheets showing pavement widths, right-of-way lines, and all proposed work clearly, curb ramps with type as per NJDOT standard details, existing and proposed drainage if required, a maintenance and protection of traffic plan conforming to the MUTCD, a striping plan if required, and details. Upload your plans next to the red asterisk where it says Plans. You can either drag and drop the files or browse your computer to locate them, or browse eBuilder if you already uploaded them in advance. The plan should be in PDF format unless otherwise noted. Now it's time to upload the specifications. You can click the blue hyperlink that says Specifications next to where it says Specifications Example in order to see the NJDOT standard specifications. This is the standard specifications for road and bridge construction for 2019. Make sure you reference the standard specifications. Next, you will need to upload the engineer's design certification. As with all of the previous examples, if you need a sample, click on the blue hyperlink. This is a copy of the engineer's design certification that you will fill out and have the engineer seal. Enter the engineer's license number in the next line. You can skip the sections labeled Commitment Others, Commitment Custom Field, Commitment Items, and add new commitment item. If you need to come back at a later time, feel free to hit the Save Draft at any time. When you are finished, click the gray Submit button and it goes to your local aid project manager for review and comments, which you will probably have to resolve before your plans are approved. If you would like to see where your project is in the process, you can click on the Show Workflow button at either the top or the bottom of your screen anytime you are in a process. A dark blue line appears around the current step. For example, once you have submitted your PS&E, a dark blue outline will appear around LA Project Manager Review. Another way to see where you are in the process is on the home screen in the area called Workflow in your court. This area shows what step the project is in, as well as who is responsible. In this case, the local aid project manager is reviewing the PS&E submission. A few reminders. Stay tuned for additional training material on bidding, invoicing, construction kickoff, the material questionnaire and asphalt waiver, change orders, and inspections. You'll be able to find this information, including videos and PDF handouts, on the NJDOT Local Aid Resource Center website at njdotlocaladrc.com/PMRS. Remember to bookmark the website so it will be easy to sign in and find new resources. Subscribe to the YouTube channel to be notified when new content is added.